I am that man, your man, the illustrious tour guide Cole Johnson, and on this episode, we're going to talk about helmets being tossed or at least used as a weapon. We're, of course, going to talk about a soap opera that's in Brooklyn, and we have, of course, a DOLT of the week. And let's get to business right away, shall we? Headlines, please. So we start in Tampa where Tom Brady, he just simply wasn't having it. So after their game against the Colts, he just offered a strong and brief statement. Now, he took a 11-day break from training camp, and he looked okay. I mean, 6 for 8, 44 yards in the last game that they set foot on the field. But, of course, it's a preseason game, so it doesn't really matter what the result was, just as long as he looked sharp and the offense looked sharp and that he got off the game without injury. Check, check, and check. So everything is fine there. It all matters Sunday. It all matters next Sunday night for him and his team when they go to Dallas and play the Cowboys to begin their season. But he said this stern, strict, short, and to the point statement. And it basically was like this. Quote, I've played a lot of football in my day, a lot of practices, a lot of games, and a lot of seasons. I'm ready to go. Close quote. And who can blame him? I mean, he's in his 22nd season. He might as well just simply mail it in. I mean, he knows what to do. He probably can do this offense, which now he's in his third season and operating backwards and forwards. So I don't think it's an issue. Now, of course, they took umbrage with something he said later on in saying that there's a lot of things going on, and he used an expletive to explain it. But it's Tom Brady. Even though we may have our opinions about him, it does not really matter. He has written his ticket. That's all that matters. Seriously. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. He's written his ticket. He knows what he's doing. He knows where he's going. It's not a problem. Near bag of shells. Going to Major League Baseball, now they have released their regular season schedule for the 2023 season on the heels of releasing the playoff season for this season as well. And for the first time since interleague play was introduced 25 years ago, all 30 teams will at least play one series against the other. So looking at the schedule, it's a tweak a little. And this is, of course, as a result of the new collective bargaining agreement that they adhered to and finally agreed to earlier this year in the winter. Now, as a result of the expanded playoffs, the emphasis on division games now is a little decreased. And so less games, now it sort of means it's a little more, I guess, of importance that you win the games in your division because you don't see the teams as much. So I think the teams normally play between 18 and 19 games, I think, a year in the division between one another, and that should be shrinking by 6. So you have that. You have the non-division games shrinking from 66 to 64. I should say non-division, but still same league. Now, the interleague games will increase to 46 from 20. Am I in favor of this? I guess not, but this will be a get off my lawn take, so I'm not going to go there. What I will say is this simple point right here. Baseball needs to get something. They need to grab on hold of something. They need to have some sort of hook because they are still losing fans by the bushels. And if they can find that hook, that's fine, but it's unfortunate that they have been struggling to do so. Back to the NFL, the Guardian caps, you know, those bubbles that you see on top of players, and you see them in college as well, I believe. when they are in practice and when they are in training camp. Well, it's taken a while for the players to get used to it, but they look bulky. They look awky. They look awkward and they seem bulky, but it seems to be catching on a little bit because, uh, okay, understand this. The NFL has been finding some way to want to say that they are a game that's of physicality and aggression, yet it's safe to play. One of the biggest pushbacks of that has been head trauma, CTE stuff, and multiple concussions that has been suffered by greats of the past, and heck, even players like Patrick Willis have signed under retirement, and they weren't even in their prime yet. So they're trying their best to save a game that is quite honestly violent if you don't protect your players the right way or protect people the right way. Guarding camps is a good way of going about it, and I think we're going to see more of it with team owners and possibly team officials embracing it. Now, will we see it in the regular season? That is remaining to be seen. But in the preseason, it looks like this is going to be something that we'll probably will see something more of, and it'll probably catch on. And actually, I'm happy it's going to catch on because I love the sport of football and don't want to see it go away. But we do have to find a way to tighten up a little bit the safety measures of the sport. Going to the NBA, the Lakers now have Patrick Beverley, and he's had quite a trip in this past year. When we last saw him, it was late April, early May, and he was playing for the Timberwolves. He ended up being on the Jazz, and now he got traded again. This time to LA, and he got traded for Taylor Horton Tucker and Stanley Johnson. Now, the plus for the Lakers is that they gain a defensive-minded player, because I will be the first to tell you, to me, the Lakers of today, outside of Anthony Davis, defensively, they are get off my lawn, and it's optional. They'll play it when they feel it, but if they don't feel it, which is most of the time, they won't play it. Beverly's the type where he signs his name on a dotted line playing defense. Defensive intensity, that is his middle name. So that's a good move in that direction. However, the negative part of that is he currently, as of now, and we have about 6 weeks or so before the season begins, he is in the same backcourt as Russell Westbrook, who is one of the most ardent, you could say critics, you could say complainers, you could say enemies of Patrick Beverley. They just haven't really gotten along all that well in recent memory. And to see the two of them in the same backcourt, but I kind of get the feeling that I really believe the Lakers want to shove Westbrook out the door as fast as humanly possible. Why else would you get someone who he considers, I won't say an enemy, but why would you get someone who he would consider, he would much rather see on the sideline or anywhere not even near his team than be a teammate? Sad times ahead, but the Lakers are desperate, but they need something. And I guess it's sad that you'd say that Patrick Beverley is the best free agent / trade signee or front office move the Lakers have made throughout throughout this offseason. That is quite an indictment on the team. Hate to say that. Staying in the NBA, but going into the desert. Now, this actually makes me happy. The Suns will go back to retro uniforms, but you remember those uniforms when the Suns went to the finals in 1993? The uniforms where Barkley and Ainge and Marley wore the first year that Barkley was in a Phoenix Sun uniform. Well, they're going back to that uniform, and it is a sports marketing decision to do so. And of course, they're going to celebrate the 30th anniversary team After all, they only have one other team of recent memory that I can think of that went to the finals along with the 93 squad. And I think that was the 76 Suns. So they are bringing back the Sunburst uniforms. And of course, this was uh, celebrated then. And for some reason, they went far away from it after that Barkley era was over. Coincidence? Who knows? But Graham Wincott, the Suns' senior director of marketing, he had this to say about the move and the change to that uniform. Quote, the easiest thing in sports is to give the fans what they want. Close quote. It may be the easiest thing, but I guarantee you this is something that Suns fan has probably been wanting to have happen ever since you changed those uniforms from that to its current incarnation of uniforms, which they're okay, but they're nothing like the Sunburst uniforms. I love them, and actually I love the predecessor too. I think both those uniforms are actually pretty cool. But I'm actually glad that they're going to that because I think, one, they need to celebrate something good. The Suns do. Because, well, I forgot the other failed finals trip, 2021. So you want to have some sort of mojo, I guess, because they had a 2-0 lead in 2021 in the NBA Finals and blew it. They had a 2-0 series lead in the conference semifinals and blew it. So I guess now they want to feel as though they are championship bound. Good luck to that, and good luck to them. They may be on the fall. Who knows? A team that is completely on the fall, and we're going back to the NFL. Pete Carroll, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, he has decided to name his starting quarterback, and it is Geno Smith.
Come on!
You really believe Geno Smith is going to take you anywhere? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me not do editorial style here. So he is the first choice to replace Russell Wilson, who's been the quarterback there for almost a decade. And of course, I think it was done seeing that Drew Lock, the other quarterback who was competing for the position, had a rough night against the Cowboys. Carroll had this to say about Geno. Quote, Geno, he knows our stuff and he does really well and he understands it and he commands everything that we're doing. He'll give us the best chance to play great football right off the bat. Close quote. He may give you a chance to play football straight off the bat the way you want, but he might be in a fight too, just as fast, if not faster. And finally, we'll go back to the NBA. This actually breaks my heart. Thunder rookie and NBA prospect Chet Holmgren, the number 2 pick in this year's draft, will miss the entire season because of an injury he suffered at a pickup game. Oh my gosh. A Lisfranc injury is what is listed and is his right foot, which is damaged. So the surgeon will, of course, be coming. And Sam Presti, general manager of the Thunder, said that it's expected he will be healthy coming into the next season. Now, of course, this was done in a crossover event. That's where he messed up his right foot. And it occurred when he was getting back on defense, and he was the lone guy back on defense. And, of course, you had LeBron James coming on a fast break. And Holmgren planted his right foot, and he jumped, and that was it to his foot. There was some actually who took pleasure in his injury. And that to me is what I find sickening. You shouldn't ever celebrate anybody being injured. I don't care who it is. I don't care how much they grate your nerves. I don't care if you think they are or are not deserving of being on the field or the ice or the diamond. You should never root for an injury for any player. Chet Holmgren is not of any exception. So, from Cole Sports, we and Cole World will wish you a speedy recovery, Chet. We want to see you wow the crowd and wow the NBA as only you can do it. We know you have it in you. Now, you just got to heal up, my man. 365 days. The countdown's on to when you really show the league what you are, what you're worth. And that is this week's headlines. When I return, we're going to talk about football etiquette in practice. We're talking about practice? We'll be right back. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to show that attainability. I want to show the accessibility of this kind of lifestyle.
From social media to having conversations with friends and family, you always have to put on face and say face.
What brings a smile to my face is the one person that totally believes in me, and that's my beautiful wife, Jody.
I just had to stop because I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And it's like, I have to learn to love myself.
Changing the world one conversation at a time. This is Revelations. Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 Network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready. We ready. We ready for y'all. We ready. We ready. We ready for y'all.
The Lunch Break with AJ, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at noon Central. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Cole Sports. I am Cole Johnson. And let's say hello to Cole World, shall we? And of course, that's the lovely chat in here. My man Vic, what's up, brother? He says, just in time for the classiest sports show. That's right. This is the classiest sports show on the planet. I'm glad you tuned in. That man, good man right there. And another good man, BS3. Good afternoon to you too, sir. I appreciate that. Vic says, get your bonbons ready because it's soap opera time. And that is, that definitely is alluding to what we're going to show you in upon further review. Andrew, good afternoon to you. I appreciate you, brother. It's so wonderful to have Cole World and the VIPs shine the way they do. I do this because I love y'all. And of course, my brother, my partner from Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Snowman, what's up, man? How you doing? Okay, so you remember the incident that took place in Cleveland between Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph when Rudolph did not have his helmet, and Garrett picked up Rudolph's helmet and came close to connecting with his head, right? Well, we had a similar incident that took place on the practice field between Aaron Donald and just about any Bengals that was nearby. But I'm not talking about the incident itself. I'm talking about, I guess, how they govern themselves. And I'm going to go talk about that in this episode's Go In. So before they played their last preseason game against each other, the teams did joint practices. The representatives of the last Super Bowl in February, which was between the Bengals and the Rams. Of course, you would pretty much figure that since these two teams played an evenly matched game, the Rams, of course, eked it out 23-20, that there was still some rough feathers and harsh feelings that was extended between parties. You just had that feeling, because why would you want to put those two teams together? It's either you don't do that with those two, or you do it with division rivals. You don't know. Those are like they're oil and water. They don't mix, or they mix when it comes to actually having fisticuffs happen, which that's what transpired here. So two practices, I believe two, had to be called off early due to confrontations that happened on the field. There were helmets that flew. There were helmets that flew and fists that flew too. And it's ridiculous that you have these incidents happen. And yes, it's aggression and all that, and that's great, and it has its place. Why would you want to not have it have its place? I mean, it's football, right? Football, it's aggression. It's probably the most aggressive sport there is of all of them. And yes, I will challenge even hockey. It has its aggression, but there's grace to it, because you have to find a way to actually skate fast on a blade. That takes a lot of skill to do. In football, you don't have to skate on a blade, and you're not skating on ice. No, you can plant your foot on the ground. And so it's about aggression every single play, no matter where you are, no matter what play it is. So you have all of this built into the game, and you have all of the angst that is built into the game, and you have all of this adrenaline built into this game. I know this because I played the game. So you're going to have these things happen. So Bengals head coach Zach Taylor, I won't say he dismissed it, but he did have this to say about the incident. Quote, "It got a little scuffly," and so we talk about calling off the practice. "We were in the last period, and we got 2 really good days of work in." Close quote. Now, the incident, there was 2. Each of them involved the Bengals offensive lineman Lyle Collins. Yes, this was the guy who was, I won't say drafted, but he was picked up as a free agent by the Cowboys before they really didn't know what to do with him, and they just let him go. One of those 2 incidents involved the Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald, where Donald took Collins' helmet and swung it a couple times in his direction. Now, it's not even about the incident to me, because to me, that's football. Even that is football to me. I'm not saying that it should happen. I'm saying it's going to happen if you're going to pump all of that type of adrenaline to and that type of aggression into guys who want to be at the highest of their testosterone levels, because you always are being told that you got to be more man than the other person. You get told that often, and you get challenged often, and if you get told that you aren't that often, what do you think is going to happen? So what I saw on the field did surprise me one single iota. Now, what did surprise me, though, was people wanting to call for Aaron Donald's head. They said that he should get the same treatment that Myles Garrett got. Personally, I think Myles Garrett got a harsher treatment than he should have anyway to begin with. That's one. 2, he didn't connect with anybody. Same as Myles Garrett. He did not connect with anybody, did Aaron Donald. So, in my opinion, no. So the NFL, they do not, like they do on the field, they do not police any type of, I guess you could say, action. They don't force any type of conduct. They don't force a punishment. They don't subject a fine when it's the practice field. That is regarded as the team's domain. That's not regarded as the league's domain. So if the Rams decide to fine Donald, cool. Now, if they decide to suspend him, I think that's going too far. But if they decide to fine him, okay. The Bengals have to actually decide to fine Collins too, in my opinion. But if but if but if you're going to encourage these types of actions, and you're going to say this is what separates our game from every other, you got to be prepared for these incidents, and you got to make sure you have your protocols in place. Now, as I said, I'm not for a guy swinging helmets at another, especially if the guy is not helmet clad. If he is helmet free and you have a helmet in your hand, yeah, I do not want to see that connect, of course. But you got to be careful with what you do, how you practice what you preach. And if you're going to direct that ire toward that guy, you have to make sure that, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to result. Hopefully, that is what's going to happen with the Bengals and Zach Taylor. Hopefully, that's what's going to happen with the Rams and Sean McVay. But I do not see the NFL changing this policy anytime soon. They say the team should handle it, and that's how it's going to happen. That's how it's going to happen. Problem I have with that is if you're going to have cameras in there and say this is NFL footage, then you might have to back off of having that be NFL footage, because if it's NFL footage we're seeing, but you do not police the players that's on the field at certain times, then the jurisdiction is not the NFL's, is it? But as Dennis Miller would say, hey, it could be my opinion. I might be wrong. Who knows? Goodness gracious. People just want to behead one another, I guess. Ugh. When I come back, the DOLT of the week. You're listening to the classiest sports show on the planet. Sports. From the vault, a look back at a key moment in sports history. August 30th, 1997. So picture this. There was this one game winner take all. And this was done on a court. But it wasn't an NBA game. No. It was the very first WNBA game between the New York Liberty and a team, man, that I wish would come back, in the Houston Comets. Now, the Comets had home field because they had the home court, I should say, because they had the better record than the Liberty did. Although the Liberty took care of business against the Comets throughout the regular season. But in that game, Cynthia Cooper, who was at the time the best women's player that we've ever seen to that point, scored 14 of her 25 points in the second half to help the Comets win their first championship with a 65-51 victory over the Liberty. What was also noticeable too was the Compaq Center, formerly known as the Summit, was sold out. 16,285 screaming fans were there. Far cry from, unfortunately, what we see in today's game. Now, the win was more significant for Cooper because she was the regular season MVP and the top leading scorer in the league. But the one thing that she wanted to have happen was her mother got a chance to see her play. And that wasn't the case because Cooper, before then, was out in Italy playing overseas because there's no WNBA. Now, the Comets went on to win 3 more championships. In fact, they went back to back to back to back before they dissolved in 2008. Meanwhile, the Liberty has gone on and they still are in existence, but they're still looking for that success, the likes of which they haven't had, much like the Comets. The Houston Comets beat the New York Liberty 65-51 to claim the first ever WNBA championship on this date in 1997. Time flies by. From the vault, brought to you by Go Sport.
You have to learn to live with yourself before you can make a commitment of yourself to someone else.
When you go to something that's already structured, like the church, I don't need to go in there thinking I'm the pastor. It's like already one set up, you know what I'm saying?
It just had everything, but I learned, you know what I'm saying? Everything I did, I learned from.
So we look forward to seeing you same time, same place. Know that we love you, God loves you more. Continue to stay safe, do the right thing, stay out of trouble.
Conversation that informs a community. Brothers of Legacy. Every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Discouragement, sorrow, distance. Your arguments cause damage to your family. The hurt leads to divorce. You feel like there is nowhere else to turn. But there is hope for you. That's where we come into play. There is an overcomer that lives inside of you. One ready to take on the world as you leap for joy, living in victory. You'll grow to love yourself and others. There's life after divorce, and you can claim it today. Get Over Divorce, where your new story begins here every Thursday on YouTube and Spreaker. Welcome back to Cole Sports. Cole Johnson here. The chat, I'm loving you guys. You're awesome. Oh, man, you're giving me a lot of Snowman in the Morning vibes. Love it, love it, love you guys. Love it, love it, love it. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Well, it is, of course, at this time of the show where we introduce the next DOLT of the Week. DOLT of the Week is sponsored by nobody. The winner of this episode's DOLT of the Week is Matt Araiza, the Buffalo Bills punter, former Buffalo Bills punter. Now, he's on this list. Why? Because when he was in the desert going to college, he allegedly, I'm not going to say that he did this. We don't know the facts yet, but he allegedly was involved in a gang rape. Oh, good Lord. Yes, you heard me correctly. Araiza, punter, the guy who was called the punt god, was found to be part of a, good Lord, I can't believe I'm saying this, a gang rape. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. Let me unpack this slowly but surely. So the Bills, they understood this was happening, and there was a civil suit that was filed in San Diego. And it alleges that when he was 21, talking about the punter, Araiza, when he was 21, he and another member of the, I'm sorry, not Desert, it's California. He and another member of the San Diego State football team allegedly had sex with an inebriated 17-year-old. Now, I know we all could have horror stories of saying, well, heck, this girl thought that she was a woman, proved to be a woman, or proved herself to try to be a woman, stepped into a woman's field, being a girl, and unfortunately, I don't care how old a woman or a girl is, she's not meant to be taken advantage of. I don't care who she is. I don't care if she's inebriated or lucid. I don't care if she needs to have treatment or if she is as solid as a rock. It doesn't matter. No woman needs to be taken advantage of. I don't care what it is or who it is or where it is or what state she happens to be or happens to live in. So there was an off-campus party about 11 months ago, October 2021 or so. And so this girl was brought inside a room, and then multiple men decided to, how can I put this in a nice, polite way, run a train on her for 90 minutes. They ran a train on her for 90 minutes. They ran a train on her for 90 minutes. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. No man should disrespect a woman or a girl, or a boy should not disrespect a girl or a woman like that. I don't think she was asking to be invaded by one illicit joystick after another. I don't understand that. But it's alleged for Mr. Araiza, correct? So I will go there. The team seemed to have known about this before it happened, and I think, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Cold World. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, BS3 Network. Thank you, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong on Roku. Correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube. Correct me if I'm wrong, Spreaker. You would think that these players will be vetted by the teams who draft these guys. So I would think that there would be some sort of background check that would be happening. So, yeah, he was drafted by the team in April. I'm thinking they had their eyes on him. They knew they were going to go in his direction probably as soon as, February, when they had combine season start. So, almost this is directed to the Bills, too. So, you did your due diligence. You dug into this man's history. You probably talked to the man's parents. You probably talked to the man's coach in college. You probably talked to his teammates. And you probably talked to a few friends, and you probably was saying, okay, well, I think this is on the up and up. We're fine. And you mean to tell me in the 6 intervening months between when you probably started scouting this guy and when you released him, that this was not on your radar? You mean none of this was on your radar? None of this.
What?
You didn't see this coming.
What?
You weren't aware of it.
What?
You were blind to it.
What?
You played John Cena. You can't see me.
What?
So you mean to tell me you were Helen Keller the whole situation, right? this should not be excused. This should not be brushed aside. You have to do your due diligence. And this incident took place long before you decided to scout him. So you mean to tell me this was not even close to what you thought was going to happen? This wasn't even something you would even think would even be possibly remotely associated with him.
You've got to be joking me.
You held on to this guy. You wanted to have a shoe drop. Your shoe dropped, but you still held on to him, and then you release him after the iron got a little too hot.
You for real?
All right. So Araiza's attorney, Kerry Armstrong, he had this to say on behalf of his client. Quote, Matt is very disappointed that his career with the Bills ended not because he played poorly, but because of false allegations leveled against him by a young lady and her attorney. I hope he is back in the NFL soon. He deserves to be, as he is the hardest working 22-year-old I know. Close quote. What also is almost a turnoff for me, his parents are also on the warpath saying all of this is fake news and they're vilifying their son and all of that. Well, memo to Mr. and Mrs. Araiza. Your son is in the eye of the public. When he is an NFL player, he's going to get scrutinized in ways that most of us don't. And so when something allegedly goes down, you can best believe you're going to have your son receive more attention than you would even want him to have. So don't give me this fake news crap. Don't give me this he's being vilified and demonized for nothing. Your boy is not as innocent as you think. Now, I'm not saying that he is a rapist because it is not confirmed yet. It is alleged. But don't come out here and tell me that he is St. Peter or that he is the second coming of Jesus. Because guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Araiza? He's not. Go back to the drawing board and how you're going to handle this situation, because he may be a hardworking guy and he actually might be innocent of this situation. But please don't go on the warpath saying that the media is evil and that everybody has it all wrong about your son. Now, I hope it is true that everybody does have it wrong about your son. On this platform, I'm not vilifying him, but I'm going to say the same thing to him that I said to Mr. Derek Deshaun Watson. You know the brain that is below your waist, right? Yeah. If you're found innocent, if you're not going to be found punishable by having a criminal trial, fine, that's wonderful. But young man, you are guilty of one thing, and I can already tell you this, being a full-fledged man that I am. You are guilty of having the head below your waist think longer, harder, and stronger than the one that's above it. And you don't have to be guilty in a court of law for that. You're just going to be guilty of your conscience. I swear. Think and do better. And know who you're going to be with in bed before you actually get yourself hurt, because you just might. And that advice is on the house, because it looks like you need to have all the advice that you can get. As the Nets turn, the soap opera that's the Brooklyn Nets is next. Upon further review, is a coming. there's a 100% chance of a laugh thunderstorm. 4 men with different viewpoints take a movie, show, or documentary and review it uncensored, unfiltered, uncompromised, with no holds barred. Join BS3, Wilkes, King Dog, and H-Rap B as they take on Hollywood their own way. BS3 Network proudly presents The Forecast, where H-Rap B always predicts,
if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God.
Live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Of course, Steph Curry, Tim Anderson, Jordan Alvarez, and it's caught. Debo Samuel with the catch. Michael Jordan consents. The throw just got the king.
BS3 Network. The hottest of hot takes. The coldest of cold hard facts. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Do you want to watch this episode commercial-free and uncensored, plus have exclusive access to content you won't see anywhere else? Well, now you can. Cole Sports is now on Patreon. Become a patron today. Coming up on next week's installment of Cole Sports, we will break down week 1 of the NFL 2022 season. We will also break down some breaking news that came to the desk. We'll do that next week because I actually find it comical. Of course, we're going to put a subject under further review, upon further review, and we will have the next DOLT of the week. In fact, I think I have an idea who it's going to be already, but that is for next week. For this week, I have to focus and place my attention at an area and a team and a place and an arena that deserves to have the fishbowl scrutiny placed upon it. Because I am a man and I want to have the teams that I look at resemble all there is to manhood. However, there is a team that resembles more of something that you would see between the hours of noon and 4 Eastern on a normal afternoon on any given weekday. And when I'm talking about things such as Young and the Restless. I'm talking about shows such as General Hospital. I'm talking about shows such as Days of Our Lives. Because the Brooklyn Nets, you all resemble them. That's right, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, all of you are resembling Ben Simmons. All of you are resembling a soap opera. And why do I say that? Well, as the Nets' turn is now, Brooklyn Nets, you are being placed upon further review. The Brooklyn Nets are a soap opera. They are a train wreck in motion. It seems like whenever you want any type of controversy, the team that plays in the Barclays Center will provide enough of it for you. For the last 2 Octobers, we were sold the bill of goods that they would compete for a world championship. For the last 3 of them, we have been witnessed to a team that wins more front page headlines than playoff series victories. It all started on July 1st, 2019, when many mainstream media outlets proclaimed the Nets as the team that ran New York City. The Knicks outwardly courted Kevin Durant. Knicks fan outwardly chanted for Kyrie Irving the last year he played as a Boston Celtic at Madison Square Garden. They received neither player. It was due to the fact, sources say, that Kyrie got into Durant's ear and implored him to think about setting a new tradition instead of building on top of an already established one. For those who are unaware, the Knicks were a mainstay in the NBA Finals at one time. Between 1970 and 1973, they went to the Finals 3 times. They narrowly missed being the Eastern Conference representative in the NBA 4 consecutive years because they lost in 7 to the then Washington Bullets in 1971. The team that built the championship pedigree on the backs of Walt Frazier, Earl Monroe, Dave DeBusschere, Willis Reed, and Bill Bradley won 2 rings in that stretch. Oh yeah, there was this bench player who later became one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time. Some guy named Phil Jackson. Anyway, other than the Bernard King era, the Knicks longed to have that type of glory again, and received it in the form of Charles Oakley, Derek Harper, John Starks, and Patrick Ewing. In the 1990s, they knocked on the door, only for the Jordan-era Bulls to slam it shut in 1991, 1992, and 1993. They made it to the finals in 1994 and 1999, only to fail each time. Do you want to know how tragic this all is? The Nets went to the finals in 2002 and 2003, yet the team led by Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, and Vince Carter was and is largely forgotten for 2 reasons. 1, they were on the west side of the Hudson, or New Jersey, and 2, they were not the Knicks. The Nets were always considered also-rans and afterthoughts to the Knicks, no matter how bad the team that played at MSG or the owner Jim Dolan did. Even when the Knicks were under scandal and controversy, the Nets struggled to get the better of their geographical big brother. They needed a big splash. Enter Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and DeAndre Jordan? Forget about him. The bulk free agent signing was supposed to be a dawn of a new age and a new era. Besides, the Knicks also wanted to have Durant, even coming off an Achilles tear that was going to sideline him until the 2021 season. It did not matter. Both teams were hungry to make the big splash in free agency, and the Nets did. But if I were the Knicks, I'd be thanking my lucky stars that the team whiffed on signing them. Why? Because the amount of drama Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have orchestrated since their time there is mind-boggling. The 2020 season was decidedly tame compared to the following 2 campaigns. While Durant was rehabbing his Achilles, Kyrie messed up his right shoulder as the season got to the All-Star break point. He missed the rest of that year. With the NBA season being delayed to start due to the previous one ending in October of 2020, the Nets were optimistic. They were geared up for a returning Durant and a healthy Kyrie. Then rumors started to swirl that the Nets were looking to trade for Houston Rockets point guard / shooting guard James Harden. In a trade that replenished much of the Rockets draft the next few years, the Nets got their man. However, drama came calling. Reportedly, Kyrie asked to take time off due to mental health, claiming the January 6th U.S. Capitol riots were forefront on his mind. What also occupied his mind, though, was the birthday party of his sister. Supposedly, Kyrie did not have contact with the organization until weeks into his sabbatical. Once he was ready to return, he had to sit out more games due to the newly adhered to rules of COVID-19 restrictions. Players had to mask up if they went out in public. Kyrie did not. But once he returned, the Nets charged forward, attempting to achieve something no other squad in their organization has ever done. The hiccups were there. Durant was in and out due to nagging injury. Harden received MVP love until he suffered nagging injuries as well. Once April rolled around, they were ready to roll, and the playoffs were in sight, and when they began in May, it all seemed to be right there for them. They breezed through the first round and were up 2-0 to the Bucks in the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. One injury to Kyrie in Game 3 of that series, and the tide shifted. The Bucks eventually went on to beat the Nets in 7 games and claimed that championship in 2021. It was through no fault of Durant's as he left everything on the court. Then the 2022 season began. Durant wanted to get further than he did the previous year. Harden wanted to be of some sort of assistance, but Kyrie had a stance that he wanted to execute. New York had a mandate of anyone who was unvaccinated being banned from playing any sport. Kyrie stood his ground until the ban was lifted, but the damage was done. Durant felt like he was pulling the Nets wagon all by himself. Harden grew frustrated with being on the Nets, and allegedly it was Kyrie's stance which pushed him to want out of Brooklyn. February 10th of 2022, Harden's prayers were answered, as he and then 76ers point guard Ben Simmons switched teams, and the teams swapped problems. Slowly but surely, they made concessions for Kyrie. He was able to play most road games, and then the ban was lifted. But by then, though, the team was besieged by controversy and off-the-court issues. Issues like the team not respecting first-time head coach in the NBA, Steve Nash. Issues like the team not really getting along or gelling with Kyrie. Issues like Durant not taking more of the reins. Issues like the guy they got in exchange for James Harden didn't set foot on the floor the rest of the 2022 season. After getting swept in the first round to the eventual Eastern Conference champion Celtics, the Nets' offseason got even more chaotic. Kyrie had an option to be paid by the Nets for the 2023 season, but he demanded a trade. The team said that he could seek a partner, but the rest of the league saw his antics off the floor and decided the talent that they saw on it was not enough to gamble with their team's futures. So, he opted to stay with the Nets. Once news broke of Kyrie staying, then it was Durant's turn. He demanded to be traded. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't the fact teams viewed him as a risk. It was the team he currently is under contract asked for so much. And because of it, the demands turned organizations off. Then, at the same time and process, he received the criticism of not being a team player. Seeing the team, after his reported ultimatum of, "It's either the front office and Nash or me," didn't budge with wanting him to be a Net, the partnership is officially solid, as they issued a joint statement saying they will move forward together. And as for Simmons, he is set to be on the floor for the first time since the 2021 Eastern Conference Semifinals, June 20th, 2021. When the season tips off in mid-October, will we witness the Kyrie, Durant, Simmons triumvirate blow our minds on the court? Or will they not surprise us and blow our minds off of it? With the reported demand from Kyrie saying that he wanted to not play back-to-back games and no more than 60 of them in a season, this soap opera will not surprise us and have our jaws drop to the floor once again. They will do so for all the wrong reasons. If you feel so led to donate to the program, go to cash.app /hashtag, $host Cole Johnson. That's cash.app /$host Cole Johnson. And as what Vic said, I totally agree. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the nets of our lives. I totally agree with you. And that'll do it for this edition of Cole Sports. I am Cole Johnson. Thank you so much to the Cole World Chat. Thank you so much to BS3, to Roku, to Spreaker, and to YouTube. And tune in next week and tune in all throughout the YouTube channel because I got more for you. Subscribe and do all that stuff. For now, I am Cole Johnson. And this is Go! Thank you for tuning in to Go Sport. To download this episode, go to Spreaker and type Cole Sports with a Z. For apparel, go to Spring and type Cole Sports VIP Boutique. That's with a Z. To reach Cole Johnson, go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. This has been a Comey Media Incorporated presentation.